Now, this is what we've been working toward this whole lesson, the production of language in a real-life situation or task. Now, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to do some kind of role play by the end of my lesson. You don't have to do a role play. You could just keep doing more and more of those practice style activities. But as a teacher, you stop giving them as many aids as you started with. You stop helping them and you let them do it on their own and only step in when they really need it. But I love role plays because they do a great job of creating a real life situation for my students, and they're one of the most communicative activities because of that. So what is a real life scenario where my students could use this kind of animal language that they've been practicing, but in a real life situation? For this lesson, the situation that I think I'll use is at the zoo. So I want to find a way to create an imaginary zoo in my classroom. So what I could do is place the photos of the animals on the walls around the classroom. And for myself, I call that an art gallery, since it kind of looks like an art gallery, and that helps me kind of visualize what that should look like in my classroom. A bunch of photos on the wall around the classroom, where my students can walk around and see them and interact with those photos. And so I'll place those photos around the room, and then I'll tell my class, hey, we're going to the zoo. And I'll try to help them see this as something exciting or meaningful to them. I want them to value this activity too, and to realize that this is where we get to practice using the same kind of language that we get to use outside of the classroom. So next, I'll need to get my students into their groupings. So you could do this in pairs if you wanted. I think I'm going to do this in small groups. And then I'm going to give each of these groups something to talk about. Now I could have each of these groups do the same thing at the same time, or I could have them all do something different. Doing different role plays all at the same time takes more time and effort for me to prep, but having different role plays planned for the different groups might be a good idea, especially since I'm planning for there to be students of various levels in this particular class. And we're going to cover more about role plays later in the course, but for now, for this lesson, I'm going to do different role plays for different levels of students. So one of my groups, I could call it group 1. And in that group, I'll place my beginners or my elementary students, and we're just going to do exactly what we've been practicing the most during this lesson so far, which is name the animal you see in the photo and describe what it's doing using some kind of action word or ing verb in a simple little sentence. So during this role play, group 1 is going to be doing that. In group 2, I'll place my intermediate students who have a little more language under their belts and who can perform more complex sentences. So for them, I'm going to have them describe the words using as many descriptive words and adjectives as they can. And in addition to that, I could also have them do what group 1 is doing, which is making sure they're also naming the animals and using action words. So I could actually have group 2 doing both of these things right here. Or I could just give them their own special task. And when it comes to our third group, which is the advanced group, I want to give them something that's much more abstract and open-ended. So where they've sat back for a lot of this lesson and just kind of been describing these animals in simple ways and using simple sentences with the rest of the class, now is their turn to really shine and to open up and to use all the language that they have. So I could have them just do what groups 1 and 2 did, but just do something a little more complex in addition to that, or I could give them their own specific thing. So I could have them chat about where in the world the animals came from, maybe give them a map to use, and to discuss something really challenging, such as a moral dilemma. What is better for these animals, living in the zoo or living in the wild? give them something to kind of discuss and wrestle and use all that language that they have to have a conversation about a meaningful topic, just like they might have in a coffee shop somewhere or at a zoo in real life. So I have some good notes for this role play now. I have some instructions for how to get it set up, and then I've thought through what are the different groups of students going to be doing during this role play. Now I want to give this a good amount of time. It's going to take some time to set up their different roles and to get ready for this activity. So I probably want to give this at least 15 minutes. But if I added some more things here at the end where we came back together and we shared, then this could easily take longer than that. Let's see where we're at with this 1 hour lesson and how well we've done with timing these activities. Do we have any time left? So here we have 10, 15, 20, 30, and 45 minutes planned for this lesson, giving us at most 15 minutes to finish up this lesson and get the students out the door to their next class. So I think it's time to wrap up this lesson.